Hello and thanks for watching. In this video we're going to be looking at the PlayStation 1 link cable. So here it is, this is the official one, and there are unofficial ones available as well. I got this off eBay. It isn't widely available because it wasn't a very successful accessory, and we'll get into that in a moment. And I can just show you the logo on the front there. So it worked basically by connecting two of the original model PlayStations. And it would connect to the back, and we're going to look at the setup in a moment. But basically you'd have two PlayStations, two TVs, two copies of the game you wanted to play connected with the cable. And unlike the previous generation where we were mainly playing split screen on the Super Nintendo or the Sega Mega Drive or Sega Genesis, depending where you are in the world, then this would display one full image per console. So you wouldn't have the hardware being tested by trying to display the split screen, for example. And it was a good idea in theory, but it wasn't very practical. And the sheer cost of having all these things, or getting all these things in one location and doing the setup, it was so much more difficult than just having split screen. And eventually a lot of games just ended up having split screen. A perfect example is the WipEout series, which we'll be looking at later on in System Link. The first couple of games only used System Link, and then they started putting in the split screen multiplayer because that's what people really wanted. But yeah, so we'll just have a cut here, and I'll show you the basic setup. So here we have all the models of the original PlayStation. We have the three variants of the original grey release and the redesigned PS1, sometimes known as the PlayStation Slim. And as nice as the PS1 is, it only has a TV connection port and the power port, so you can't use it for the link cable. So we'll put that to one side. All three of the original grey PlayStations have the port you need for System Link gameplay. I'll just show you on the back here, it's the serial port just there. This is the original 1995 console, and you can tell because it has all of the ports in the back. And as we progress they remove ports. So on this one you've got your power, the AV multi-out, the audio out, the serial, which is what we use for link cable, and the parallel port. And also on the front you can see it has text saying power, open, and the CD drive is located at the rear left. And as you progress you see the next one in the line has symbols instead of text, and the CD drive has been moved due to issues with overheating with the drive being near the power source in the console. So the later consoles has the drive at the front right, and the next one is the same with the symbols and the drive being there. And if I just turn them around you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So as you can see they all have the System Link serial port which we'll be using, but as we progress the consoles lose things, so we lose the audio out on these two, and by the last version we've lost the parallel port from the previous two as well. And the parallel port was used with game sharks and cheats and things, so Sony just wanted to get rid of that. And I think the audio out just didn't really have a use, as you could also get the converter for this, or something like that. There's a reason they got rid of this. But yeah, all of these models work with the link cable, and here is the cable out of the box. It's not too lengthy. I think it's about 2 meters maybe. So you couldn't say have one set up in one room and one set in another room. You would have to have them very close to be set up. But here we go, they just connect into the serial port, as I said, like that. And basically it will cut across to a proper setup of this, and I'll show you how it's all wired in, and then we'll go and look at some of the WipEout games. So here's the setup we're going to be using. We've got the two TVs and the two PlayStations connected with the cable at the back, and this is the 95 model, and it's connected to the third variant of the original PlayStation. So I've done that just to basically demonstrate that you can connect any of the variants, it doesn't really matter. Moving forward, the PS2 doesn't work with the cable, just in case you wanted to know. And compatibility wise with the games, if we look at the link cable box itself, you can see the link cable logo there. And if we look at WipEout, for example, which we're going to be looking at in a moment, It has link cable 2 consoles on the back there, basically telling you it works with it. And as we go along, here's WipEout 3 Special Edition. It's the same, but it's a bit more detailed. It's got a picture of 2 games and 2 TVs, because a lot of people really did not know what link cable was or how it worked. So yeah, we'll probably go across and look at WipEout first. So here we go, we've got 2 copies of WipEout to look at, 2 copies of WipEout 2097. 3 is interesting, I just wanted to point this out. It does have the system link option, but it is locked behind a cheat, which is stupid, basically. It's a key feature of the game, and it's locked behind a cheat, which just seems daft to me. And the fact that system link wasn't very popular anyway, and they have it in this game, they probably should have had it as a key feature up front, and they didn't have it even labelled on the back of the game as an option. Very weird. But we're going to be looking at Special Edition anyway, because it has all the stuff from WipEout 3 in it. And this one, you don't need to put a cheat in, it's just there as an option, which it should have been in this. So we'll go across and we'll look at the original WipEout first. Feel the power of 2 of those intros playing at the same time. Still one of the best console startup noises ever made. So yeah, the link cable, it came out in 1995, just after the release of the console itself here in the UK. And WipEout was a launch game, and it supported it from the beginning, so that's quite cool. Other games that supported the cable were the Armored Core series, some of the Ridge Racer games. I know from Ridge Racer Revolution onwards I think they supported it, and some of the Formula 1 games did as well. Not too many, there's obviously more, you can find lists out there, but of the entire PlayStation library there's not many. So here we go, we'll get into it. It's quite cool seeing the 2 WipEout title screens there together. And yeah, so if we go into 2-player, whichever one you start with becomes the lead console, and it's basically waiting for the second one to pick. So if we pick 2-player on the second console, they link up. And yeah, your lead console now has the options and can choose basically what you're playing in the game. So we're just going to pick Venom class. There's 2-player race and head-to-head. So yeah, 2-player race, full grid of opponents, and head-to-head is just the 2 players obviously. We're just going to look at one of these because it's the same thing basically. And we'll just go in 2-player race. And I'll be AG Systems, and I imagine 2-player will be Pfizer. Yep. And I'll pick Altima as our first track. Okay, so here we go. The first thing you'll notice that's different is under the position it says P2 8 on the left screen, and that's basically telling you that player 2 is in 8th. And that's just useful for knowing where they are, as there's no display of their name or anything like that telling you whereabouts they are on screen, so they can fly right past you and you don't know it's them unless you look at that. Then there are 2 weapons exclusive to link-up mode. One disables the weapon systems on your opposition, and one messes with their controls and just inverts them, makes them unable to control the craft properly. So I've just cut across here to show you one of the exclusive weapons in the 2-player game, and this is the Revcon, which reverses the controls. So if I fire it, it's like a normal missile, it hits player 2 there, and it reverses the controls on the ship, making it difficult for them to fly and win the race. So the next weapon I'm going to show you is the Ecm Pod, and this disables the weapon systems on the opposition ship. So if I fire it off, you can see on player 2's screen I didn't collect a weapon from the weapon pad. So again, quite a useful one. Okay, so we've had a look at WipEout 1, and we're going to go into WipEout 2097 now. And we're here on the main menu, and we just go into the race type. and it's the same options as in the first game. We've got Arcade Link, which is basically racing against a full grid, and One-on-One, which is basically just racing against each other. And we're just going to go in the race option, and you link the consoles like so. And one of the consoles is the lead console again, and that's the one that makes all the decisions about the race and everything. And we'll go on Valparaiso and just do a single race and pick a different ship with player 2. You're going to be AG, yeah, cool. And then you both pick start and it loads the game. And if one console loads quicker than the other, then the other one will just wait and you'll start the race at the same time. So here we go, and the first thing you'll notice is the arrow above the other player. So that's different to the first game in that it clearly marks where the other player is on the screen. It's a bit strange having a giant arrow over the other player, but it can be useful. So we're just going to have a quick look at another track, and unlike the first game, there are no extra weapons in the multiplayer in this one. It's just the same weapons as in the single player game. And yeah, that's a quick look at 2097. So next will be WipEout 3 Special Edition. Okay, so here we are in WipEout 3 Special Edition, and we're just going to go to the options on the main menu and pick the Establish Link option. And once we've picked that on both consoles, it links up. And again, like the previous games, you get the Master Console, and they basically set up the race. So we're just going to go in the WipEout 3 League and just pick a basic track, so Porto Cora, and I'll be Oricom. And you need to pick your team. Izar, there we go. Okay, so here we go, and you can see the other player is identified by an arrow over them in a similar way to 2097. And there are no extra weapons in this game, like the previous one, in multiplayer. Just the same set of weapons from the single player. So that's been a look at the PlayStation 1 link cable. It works really well with the WipEout series. And I can see why back when people had smaller TVs traditionally, this would have been quite a big deal. And I did mention before, it is quite a pain to set up and cost a lot if you were buying all the pieces back then. But yeah, it works well. I mean, these days most people have bigger TVs, so split screen isn't really an issue. It looks good, and with online and stuff, this kind of thing doesn't really, you don't really need it anymore. But yeah, it's quite cool to look at it. It works fairly well with the WipEout series, like I say. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed having a look at it with me.